We're going to hear you just fine, so we're not going to worry about those 2 minutes. Just talk regularly.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos al Mercado Central. Estamos en este lugar muy histórico porque aquí es donde visitan los latinos, donde visitan todas las culturas del área de Minnesota. Entonces, le damos la bienvenida a todos los que nos acompañan a hoy y a todos los que nos miran por las cámaras también. Mi nombre es María Elena Gutiérrez, soy directora de Fe y Justicia y también estoy trabajando con Unidos Minnesota, directora de la coalición en Centro Minnesota. Ahorita le voy a pedir a mi compañero Marcos que se presente.
Hi everyone. My name is Marco Loera. I'm an organizer with Unidos Minnesota. We are very happy to have everyone here today. We're at a very historic place where a lot of Latinos come here to gather. So we want to thank everyone for being here during this press conference for a very historic and moment that's for immigration. And I just want to start off saying I am a DACA recipient, and I've called Minnesota home since 2004. I have not been back to Mexico since 2004. That's 17 years going. Have not seen my family in almost a decade. So immigration is something that hits my heart very closely. And I just want to say how grateful we are that Senator Smith is here with us, supporting this very good plan that's through the reconciliation. And I just want to say a couple words that...
Bueno, voy a hablar un poquito más de mí, acerca de quién soy yo. Yo también soy un inmigrante, igual que muchos de ustedes que están aquí presentes. Inmigré en 1996 a Estados Unidos, al estado de Washington State. And when I immigrated to Washington State, in 2001, I decided to come to Minnesota. I came to a rural area, and I was living in Ava, Minnesota. Living in Ava, Minnesota, that was a hard time. It was a hard time for my family because my family started to get tear apart. They got arrested and deported. My siblings were deported. So, and it's how that touched my heart and broke my family. And it's when I start realize that we gotta work in something. I need to do something else instead of stay just at my home and go to work. So we moved to St. Cloud, and I even living in St. Cloud since long time ago. But I am a person that has been organizing since I see a lot of families broken, and because I was seeing the more attention was putting on the cities and not on the rural areas, and that's why I start to organize in the rural areas. And since then, we have been working really hard. Now, with Unidos, we have been working very hard. I am working with Unidos, and I am in charge of Pay Justicia. And now we would like to Marco to explain a little bit about why we are here and what are the key points why we are here today.
So like Marlena said, we're here to talk about the citizenship through the reconciliation process. This is a process that has not been taken in the past, but we believe that this is the way to be able to move immigration forward. This path will be able to legalize about 5 million undocumented immigrant workers. About 5 million undocumented immigrants have been risking their lives as essential workers during the worst public health crisis in our lifetime. In fact, more than two-thirds of undocumented immigrant workers serve in frontline jobs in essential industries like healthcare, home care, transportation, agriculture, food production, construction, and other industries. This act, which is known as the Essential Workers Citizenship for Essential Workers Act, we are pushing for this to be passed through the reconciliation process, which, as you know, would only need 50 votes to be able to pass. This bill would legalize essential workers, DACA, and TPS holders. So it's very important for us to be here and be pushing this and having our lawmakers really support this. So yes, I just want to open it up and maybe we can start introducing our speaker. So,
Yes. Um, our speakers, our first speaker is Jenny Strait with Coalition of Asian Americans Leaders.
Hi everyone. My name is Jenny Slay. I am the senior manager for Civic Power at CAL, the Coalition of Asian American Leaders, a social justice network of 4,500 leaders with the mission to harness our collective power to improve the lives of community by connecting, learning, and acting together. I'm here today because I'm encouraged by our senator's support for a pathway to citizenship for essential workers. As a child raised by essential refugee workers in the meatpacking industry, I know the intense labor and risky working conditions meatpackers experience during normal circumstances. The health crisis definitely exacerbated those conditions, causing severe impact on families and communities. Our essential workers have been on the front lines, providing us with the basic needs of survival and well-being. Yet the pandemic has revealed how expendable essential workers were. Excluding our essential immigrant workers from full citizenship disregards their contribution to our economy and community life. Essential workers have always been critical to our overall economic growth and health, and as we move forward toward healing, they're even more vital now. We need all of our lawmakers to recognize the sacrifices and important role of immigrant workers and use their power to make citizenship a part of the budget reconciliation process. And so we are very supportive of Senator Smith's stance on this. Thank you.
to build that better, we have to make sure everyone is included and everyone plays their part. Along with jobs, care, and climate, citizenship for immigrant workers and families is an integral part of the recovery package that Democrats are gearing up to enact this year.
Now we have our second speaker, Khalin Omar with Muslim Coalition of Isaiah.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Khalid Omar. I'm an organizer with the Muslim Coalition of Isaiah. We're a coalition of 20 plus mosques statewide who are organizing to get our people to build to build more political power within our community, because we know that this is the moment that we need to get out as a community and stand together to make sure that everyone is taken care of. Everyone is taken care of in this moment. I want to say that this afternoon it is with the pathway to citizenship. It is important for us to know that what our essential workers who are immigrants have done, because when it comes to the frontline workers in meat factories or the hospitals or the education field, those people were immigrants. They were the ones that stood and made out of this pandemic. COVID-19 showed us that. It was very clear that if it wasn't for our essential workers, if it wasn't for our immigrant community, we would not have come out from this pandemic. It was very clear. And so it is our responsibility as a community to make sure that we create pathways for the people that were caring for our parents, our elders, our children, the people that stood, that made sure for us to all come out. Those are the people that we need to create pathways for. Those are the immigrants. Those are the ones that stood and made sure that everybody was taken care of in this pandemic. So it is our responsibility today. It is our responsibility to make sure that happens, to make sure there is a pathway for immigrants, for our undocumented immigrants that that were the essential workers. So it is critical. It is important for us to stand tall, and I'm here to push that message. And I want to thank our senator who has who has stand firm on this and who is pushing on this, because this is what we need to do to make sure we show that our immigrant communities play a vital role in our society here in Minnesota and in our country. So with that, thank you everybody for being here, and we hope that this gets done, and I'll end it with that. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Ariel.
Reconciliation bill that includes citizenship for dreamers, TPS holders, farm workers, and other essential workers bills. Other essential workers will boost economic growth, create jobs, increase wages, and for all Americans.
Okay, now our third speaker is John Howe, who is Director of Justice at Pat University Catholic Community in Eden Valley. Okay, he is not here yet. We're gonna go to our fourth speaker is Jonathan Wagen, President of CAO and Minneapolis Regional Chamber.
Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Weinhagen, President and CEO of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber. I'm grateful to be here today and humbled hearing the stories that we've heard already. We know that our state and nation's character is inseparable from the story of immigration. We know that immigration is a cornerstone of Minneapolis, our region, and our state's economic competitiveness. That is why we're here to support this legislation that would help the workers who have benefited Minnesota's economy for generations and kept Minnesota's economy open for business through the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chamber recently commissioned a report in the city of Minneapolis that highlights the critical role that immigrant and refugee communities play in our economy, from spending power to the workforce. The report found that immigrants in Minneapolis played a critical role in our city's ability to weather the pandemic, as you've heard already today. They made up 42% of essential services workforce, 18% of healthcare workers, 18% of food service workers, 25% of transportation and warehousing workers, and 15% of the essential retail trade workforce. In total, nearly 12,000 worker immigrants in the city of Minneapolis. These industries that are disproportionately supported by immigrants and refugees are some of the very same industries that require even more workers today, which is why creating a pathway for the essential workers who risked their lives over the last year and a half is not only the right thing to do, but is also going to help our regional economy to emerge stronger than ever before. I'm grateful, as everybody has said today, for Senator Smith's leadership on this really important issue, and look forward to partnering with her to get this across the finish line.
We would like to say that it is a moral failure today in America. Millions of immigrants or workers are considered essential, but also deportable, and that cannot stand.
Okay, our next speaker is Abina. Okay, she's director of Immigrant Law Center.
Thanks, Marilena and Unidos. Every day, the Immigrant Law Center of Minnesota has the privilege to serve the immigrants and refugees who are essential to our community. And every day, our staff must tell dreamers and temporary protected status recipients that there is no way for them to become citizens. Every day, we must tell clients who are essential workers who put their lives on the line during the pandemic that there is no way to ensure permanent protection from deportation and separation from their families. We need a pathway to citizenship. 3 of our clients are DACA recipients in rural Minnesota. They came to the U.S. in 2003 as young children, have lived here since 2005, and went to high school in Minnesota and graduated. They are all 3 now essential workers. 1 works in education, 2 in food production. Every 2 years, they fill out new forms to apply for DACA status. Minnesota is their home, but they are in limbo. The United States is their country, but they can't vote, and they could be deported if DACA ends. They need a pathway to citizenship, but so do we all. Creating this pathway will boost the U.S. economy, raise wages, increase tax revenues, and create more jobs. It is also just the right thing to do. As Marco said, it is a moral failure that millions of immigrant workers are considered essential and deportable at the same time. The time for a pathway to citizenship is now. We thank Senator Smith for her leadership and call on the Minnesota delegation and all members of Congress to enact this common sense legislation. Immigrants get the job done. Now let's get the job done for immigrants.
That was good. That was really good. We are confident that citizenship for immigrants will qualify for the Human Infrastructure Package under the Budget Reconciliation Rules.
Now we need to give the welcome to one of our heroes here. He was in the hospital for many months. He is a survivor of COVID, and he represents all our workers, the workers that are on our back. They are essential workers, but he is our hero. And we are going to welcome Emilio Gonzalez. He's a leader from Unidos, Minnesota.
Hola everyone. My name is Emilio Gonzalez. Soy un líder con Unidos, Minnesota.
My name is Emilio Gonzalez and I'm a leader with Unidos, Minnesota.
Soy un sobreviviente del COVID-19. Yo me contagié en esta enfermedad el pasado noviembre y hasta la fecha sigo batallando con las consecuencias de este virus mortal.
I am a survivor of COVID-19. I contracted this virus this past November, and until today, I'm still struggling with the sequels of this deadly virus.
He sido un trabajador esencial por 30 años y durante todo este tiempo no he tenido un estatus migratorio.
I have been an essential worker for the last 30 years, and through all that time, I haven't had an immigration remedy.
He tenido tres trabajos en limpieza, construcción, manufactura y producción de alimentos.
I have oftentimes worked 2 or 3 jobs in cleaning and janitorial, construction, manufacturing, and food production.
Durante todos estos años sostuve mi rol con orgullo, haciendo lo mejor, trabajando con dignidad para poder darle oportunidades a mi familia.
Through all these years, I held my role with pride. I did the best I could, and I worked with dignity to be able to provide a better future for my family.
Pero durante la pandemia, sostener mi posición en la línea de producción casi me cuesta la vida.
But through the pandemic, to hold my position in the production line almost took my life.
Tengo 20 años esperando mi petición y se me está yendo la vida esperando que el gobierno me dé la oportunidad de tener un estatus migratorio.
I have waited for 30 years for my immigration petition, and my life is wasting away. And I'm seeing until I see the government give me the opportunity to have an immigration status.
No podemos ser esenciales e invisibles. No podemos ser esenciales y menospreciados. No podemos ser esenciales y desechados.
We cannot be essential and invisible. We cannot be essential and undermined. We cannot be essential and disposable.
Como sobreviviente del COVID, sería mejor para mí estar en casa y trabajando en mi recuperación. Pero estoy aquí luchando con mis hermanos, con DACA, TPS, para que el Senado Nacional nos dé la oportunidad de salir de las sombras de una vez por todas.
As a COVID survivor, it would be best for me to be home working on my recuperation. But I am here, fighting with my brothers and sisters that have DACA and TPS, fighting for all of us to have the National Senate give us the opportunity to come out of the shadows once and for all.
Senadora Tina Smith, le doy las gracias por su voto a favor de millones de inmigrantes. Quiero invitar a la comunidad a involucrarse en este movimiento histórico. La lucha sigue.
Senator Tina Smith, thank you so much for your support in favor of millions of immigrants. I also would like to invite the community to get involved in this historical moment.
Next, I would like to introduce from a great state of 10,000 lakes and dozen of dreams, Senadora Tina Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to thank Unidos, including Marlena and Marco, and to Amelia for organizing this event. I would like to thank all of our amazing speakers today. And I also want to thank Mercado Central for helping to host us. This place, as you've heard and as you know, is the center of a strong and powerful community, and I'm honored to be able to stand here in support. I'm here today because this is an economic issue. It is a moral issue, but it is a matter for me of human dignity and respect. During this pandemic, undocumented immigrants did the hardest work, caring for our elders, providing child care for our children, processing pork and poultry, working in dairies, doing all of the hard work to make sure that there was food on all of our tables. And they literally did this work, in so doing, making it possible for life to work for all of us. And they did it with dignity and pride. And we thanked essential workers, right? We put signs in our yard thanking them. We called out their service and their sacrifice, as we should have. But now we need to do more than offer thanks. Now we need to offer a solution to our nation's broken immigration laws. This is why I am so proud to support the Citizenship for Essential Workers Act, led by my colleague from California, Senator Alex Padilla. So here's the problem. An estimated 5 million essential workers do the essential work essential jobs that make our country work, and yet they lack permanent immigration status. Our country, our state, our communities, and our families depend on the work of undocumented essential workers for our survival. And yet our broken immigration law prevents them from becoming citizens. Not only are they barred from a path to citizenship, but they wake up every day faced with the possibility of deportation. Every day. That is just not right. The Citizenship for Essential Workers Act would provide a fair pathway to citizenship for the people who helped bring this country through this devastating pandemic. It would allow essential workers and their immediate families to immediately apply for legal status. And with that green card, they could apply for citizenship in 5 years. And in the budget, which I am working hard to be sure passes, the reconciliation package, as you may have heard, we need to create a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, for those with TPS and DED status, and for essential workers. Undocumented workers have provided a national service to this country during the pandemic, and we should create a fair path to citizenship for them in recognition of their service. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senator Tina Smith. And now we want to close this. Do you have questions? Anybody? I'm sorry. Do you have questions for Senator Tina Smith or for one of our speakers?
Senator Smith, can you describe what this timeline might be for people who are waiting for this to possibly come to fruition? If received any
So we will be working very hard in the coming weeks to include this bill and other efforts to improve, create a pathway to citizenship for DACA and others in the reconciliation bill. That was included, this was included in the Democratic plan that was laid out earlier this week in the Senate. I'm going to be working hard to make sure that it is included in that reconciliation bill that we need to pass by September.
Senator, without getting too deep in the weeds here, how essentially do you see this working? I mean, is this a carte blanche for all essential workers who are undocumented? Will there be any kind of proof that they were essential workers, or how do you see this playing out in terms of a practical?
Well, of course, the details of this legislation need to be worked out through the reconciliation process. But the legislation, I should say, defines a broad group of folks who provide essential services during the pandemic. You heard some of the stories here today. Folks who worked, for example, in emergency response, in sanitation and food service, people who worked in hotel, people who worked in food processing, agricultural work, other essential roles. Those individuals and their immediate family would be eligible to apply for a green card. And then once they have received that green card, they would be eligible to apply for citizenship in 5 years.
Do you have a sense of how many people living in Minnesota that this would impact?
Here, you should stand up to this.
These are very rough estimates, but there are approximately 92,000 undocumented immigrants living in the United States. And based on estimates of who are essential workers, we would imagine that between half to 2/3 of those individuals would be eligible. And that's just simply because undocumented workers are performing the essential work of our society, and definitely in the pandemic.
Minnesota?
Yeah, sorry, yes, and that was 92,000 in Minnesota, 12 million undocumented total in the country. Any other questions?
We feel that we've been used just for political matters. So give us a chance, if it's like 90%, 100%, but if it doesn't happen, do you think that President Joe Biden will do something else on his side if you still?
Well, first, let me say that President Biden and Vice President Harris support this effort, and that's very, very important. Second of all, I'll tell you that there are many of us in the Senate and in the House in Washington, D.C. that will do everything we can to get this included in these big bills that we are passing this summer. I am optimistic. I believe that this is something that we need to do. As I said, I believe it's a matter of human dignity and respect, and I will not stop fighting until it's done.
Okay, yeah, no, but we just want to say thank you also because you're here to stand for us, but I know and we understand that there's more people that have to show the fight.
That's right.
I just want to ask questions that have sometimes people will be used.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, we would like to just end the conference here with just thanking everyone that came out, but also reminding everyone that, yes, it's a very important step, but remember, this is only for 5 million undocumented immigrants, and there's 12 million in this country, right? We must not forget about the other 6 to 7 million immigrants that will be left out. We must continue to push for a broad immigration reform that needs to be passed, and we need to keep pushing both sides of the aisle to support this when we know that the majority of Americans approve of this immigration reform. So let's keep pushing forward. And again, thank you to Senator Smith for supporting this bill, and thank you everyone for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.